baby. How you like that? Stats on fire. Huh, Rob Guerrera? How do you like that? He's joining us in moments here. Good morning, everybody out there in the Comcast Business text line. YouTube and Twitch brought to you by First NorCal Credit Union. It's a Football Friday brought to you by First 5 California to learn 4 things you can do to overcome toxic stress. Go to first5california.com. Good morning, everybody out there. Get off the graveyard shift. If you're at work, what is happening? Good morning to all you overnight dancers. I hope you had a good night, made a lot of money. Good morning to everybody out there getting ready for a big weekend of sports. You got a big prize fight with Canelo Alvarez and, of course, Jamel Charlo. You have the Niners and Cardinals, of course, on Sunday, who we're going to talk to Rob about. If you're down at the farm tomorrow, let me know. Stanford, Oregon. We'll be there for at least the first half. But let's get Stats on Fire. He's a host of everything. ESPN Radio, Gold Standard Network. He's podcasting left and right, and he knows his Niners. And he's coming at our boy Baldy because he gets so ticked off when people, quote-unquote, mention Joe Montana and Brock Purdy. Nobody's comparing Brock to those guys, Rob. We're just saying it's like that. What do you want to say? Yep. Brock Purdy's like JT O'Sullivan? You want to do that one, Rob?
If you're going to say, I'm not comparing him to Joe Montana, then why are you using Joe Montana's name? Just say, Brock Purdy is really poised. Brock Purdy doesn't panic. When you use Montana's name, you're comparing them. And we don't have to have another Joe Montana or Steve Young to win a Super Bowl. That's what 49er fans have to realize. Brock doesn't have to be Joe or Steve. He just has to be Brock.
Hey, let me say this, Rob. Brock Purdy reminds me of a young Tom Brady with his poise, his accuracy, the way he dunks, all that stuff, man. Let me just say, but no, seriously, let's get serious here. Christian McCaffrey just won NFC Offensive Player of the Month. Is he the one guy the Niners can ill afford to lose in this offense? Or if they, because I feel like if this, I'm knocking on wood, I want Brock Purdy to play a full 17. I want to see what it looks like. But it feels like if McCaffrey's healthy, Debo's healthy, Ayuk's healthy, Kittle's healthy, that Darnold could step in and win a couple games with that personnel and this play caller. Now, you could debate that later on. But it feels like if they miss Christian McCaffrey, this offense looks completely different.
1,000%. He is the most important part of this offense. Remember, before he got here, they were scoring 19 points a game. That's even with all those other people that you mentioned. It's McCaffrey that transformed the offense, even more than Brock Purdy, because they started scoring more even when Jimmy was the quarterback. McCaffrey is the man. He has 9 explosive plays on the year in 3 games. He is the pivot point for the entire offense.
What's harder for them to overcome, an offense with no Debo or an offense with no Brandon Ayuk?
I would say no Debo. And the nice part is for the 49ers, whoever's not there, you still have at least 2 more all-pros on the offense. You have better personnel, even with some guys missing, than some teams have when all their starters are healthy. But Ayuk, I think, is just such a complete player and a complete wide receiver that I think his presence is missed more than Debo, who can do an amazing thing, but really kind of only succeeds one way. And so I think that Ayuk is more versatile, so I think that I would go with him.
Vontae's over here getting hung up on the rim like the Sprite commercial.
No.
What's the most important part of this team right now? Like, as we break things down, I know a lot of people are going to say quarterback, or the defense. What do you think is the most important part of this team?
I think it's the defensive line, honestly. Their entire defensive structure is built to get pressure with the front 4, and they are doing it right now. Bosa has 15 pressures through 3 games. Javon Hargrave has 13 pressures. Javon Kinlaw has 10 pressures. That is how their defense is set up. It covers some of the deficiencies in the secondary. It helps them stop the run and keep more people in coverage. It's the D-line to me.
Hargrave's been so much better than I anticipated. I heard so much about he can't stop the run, and he's been awesome. Just watching the games, you watch it back multiple times. The dude is in the backfield all the time.
I've never seen a defensive tackle for the 49ers nearly tackle a quarterback before he can hand the ball off, and we saw that with Javon Hargrave against the Rams. He's got 2 sacks in 3 games. He is changing the entire dynamic of that defense, and I think he's a key part of the reason we didn't see Daniel Jones running as much, because there was nowhere for Daniel Jones to go because Hargrave in the middle of that D-line was just caving things in.
No doubt. Rob, Stats on Fire here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. He does it all for 49ers content, ESPN Radio, and, of course, the Gold Standard Network. So this defensive line is humming. But I'm looking overall at the NFC. You know, when Lynch and Shanahan sign their extensions. I've heard a lot of like, hey, man, they're here for the long term, so it's not really Super Bowl or bust this season. And when we say Super Bowl or bust, that's going to be a disappointment with this team, with this fan base, if they don't win it this year because of how watered down the NFC is this season. I say all that to say there's a team in the North coming, the Detroit Lions, that is built for January. Why you scoff? Why you say yuck? Come on, Rob.
I say yuck. Can the Lions prove it, please? Can they prove anything? They barely were over 500 last season. And I know they look good against the Packers, and I know that their offense can put up some points. But I got to see it before I believe it. I want to know who Dan Campbell is out coaching, okay? I want to see Jared Goff go outside in a playoff game and put up good numbers. I need to see Detroit prove it before I shake in my boots about the big, bad Detroit Lions.
Nobody's shaking their boots. But wouldn't you agree they're built for January with the way they play? Physical offensive line, physical running game, weapons galore on the outside, a damn good tight end in Sam Laporta. And Jared Goff is playing the best football of his career.
Yes, all that is true. But what is the best football of Jared Goff's career? Like, I saw the best football of Jimmy Garoppolo's career, and I knew that wasn't good enough. We had to get rid of him. So
Jared Goff's a lot better than Jimmy. Come on now.
Is he?
Yeah,
Come on now.
I think he is. Every metric tells you that he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo, whether it's turnover ratio, touchdown, percentage, completion. I mean, he takes care of the ball much better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I actually trust him more than Jimmy Garoppolo currently, but we can have that debate till we're blue in the face. Who of these receivers is stepping up if there is no Debo this weekend and Ayuk's not there? I mean, are we looking at like a Chris Connolly, Ronnie Bell? I mean, we don't even know if Jennings is going to play this weekend. I mean, they're really thin at receiver, and what can do in a team are these cluster injuries at certain position groups. And so I'm not petrified, but I'm starting to get concerned about the wide receiver room right now.
Your concern, I think, is warranted, but, like, here's the nice part about the 49ers. It's almost like a buffet, right? You don't like the chicken, eat the fish. You don't like the fish, eat the pasta. Let's say those guys are out. You could use McCaffrey as more of a wide receiver this week, use Elijah Mitchell as one of your primary running backs, then you have CMC, you still have Kittle, you have Elijah Mitchell, maybe you get Ronnie Bell involved a little bit here and there, and I think you still have enough to get through a week like the Cardinals. Now, maybe that doesn't beat the Cowboys or the Eagles, but against the Cardinals this week, I think you can get by.
What area is Kyle Shanahan improved in your opinion, Rob?
Well, he started to a little bit this year be a little more aggressive on fourth down, which was one of my biggest criticisms of Kyle. Is I felt like he was way too conservative. And we've seen a couple of times so far this year where he's willing to go for it on fourth down. One play, he actually put the ball in Brock's hands. It wasn't just a run straight up the middle. I hope he continues to do that because I think that's the one part of his game where he was too conservative and he was making it harder for the 49ers to win. We've seen a little change this year. Hopefully he keeps that up.
Hypothetically, if there are no great receivers out there for Brock Purdy, isn't that what a lot of people who are skeptics of Brock Purdy, isn't that kind of what they're looking for? Like to see what he looks like without a handful of these weapons?
I think that, the skeptics of Brock Purdy are going to continue to try to knock things down.
Agreed.
Because they want to justify their initial skepticism of him.
Agreed.
And it's really hard for him to prove that to people, right? Because they have so many good players, it's almost impossible for all of them to be out at the same time. So he sort of never gets to prove them wrong. But, it doesn't matter. You could win the Super Bowl and ESPN could have a conversation the next day about, is Brock Purdy the worst quarterback to win a Super Bowl? Guess what? You don't have to give the trophy back. So don't get concerned about that. All that matters is what happens on the field, and so far, so good with Brock Purdy.
Arizona's coming to town. Now, I saw some of your work earlier this week. You do a great job covering all teams, just breaking down the game and previewing the game. Arizona, I know they've played tough to start the season. How seriously should Niner fans be taking them? I mean, I know it's a divisional opponent. They snuck up on the Cowboys and beat them up. I know the Cowboys missed half their offensive line. They were up 20-0 on the New York Giants before getting smoked in the second half. How serious is this Arizona Cardinals team, man? How much stock should we put into this team this Sunday?
More serious than they've been in recent years because they have an actual coaching staff now, unlike Cliff Kingsbury, who was the glorified college offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just beat the Cowboys because the Cowboys were asleep at the switch. They beat the Cowboys because they beat the Cowboys. There were some of these runs where there was just nobody in position for Dallas to make a tackle because they out-schemed them on offense. The Cardinals are good. I think the Niners are going to have to take a punch. And what I mean by that is they've averaged 18 points per game in the first half this season. But in the entire second half of every game this year, the Cardinals have only scored 18 points combined.
Right.
So I think what's going to happen is maybe they come out early, they get a touchdown drive, maybe two, something like that. But ultimately, I think the Niners' talent will win out in the end, and the Cardinals will fade in the second half.
Why are fans and some media reluctant to just say that Brock Purdy's a good player?
Because they want to be right about Brock Purdy. They don't want to get it right about Brock Purdy.
Sad.
And I was guilty of it. He was a 7th-round pick. Mike Silver told me last year that, hey, they really like Brock Purdy. And I said, get the hell out of here. He's last pick in the draft. His arm is really weak. But you know what? Silver was right. I was wrong. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to admit that yet.
Right.
So they're just waiting for things to happen so they could say, see, I told you.
I want to go back to the Cardinals. You talk about scheming it up, and the Brock Purdy thing, you're so spot on with that. People hate being wrong, and I've been wrong 55% of the time. Who cares? Who really cares? Can you entertain? Can you break it down? All that stuff. But Arizona, Rondale Moore, Hollywood Brown, James Conner, legit weapons here. Who is somebody else we should be looking for in this Arizona team?
Well, I was going to say Rondale Moore. You took the words right out of my mouth. It took Jonathan Gannon about 5 minutes to do what Cliff Kingsbury could never do, which is just get the ball in this guy's hands and he can make people miss and run around. He's like the number one threat to me beyond James Conner that I think the Niners are going to have to worry about. You may see kind of like some Tebow in the backfield kind of style plays from them this week.
You know what? Josh Dobbs, is he going to have this job all year? It feels like when you look at Kyler Murray's contract, and we'll get you out of here in a second, Rob, and we appreciate the time, but Kyler's going to be making $51 million next year, $45 the next year, $50 plus the next year, $40 plus the next year. Shouldn't they just reboot and move on from Kyler? And I like Kyler. I do like Kyler. I don't think he was coached up well under Kingsbury at all, but it feels like this is the beginning of the end of the Kyler Murray era up in Arizona.
That could be, excuse me, but I also don't think it's the start of the Josh Dobbs era. I don't think either one of those things are true. I mean, Dobbs, the Cardinals are running the ball 49% of the time. So that is telling you, like, they really don't want Josh Dobbs to throw. But, look, nobody has any allegiance to Kyler Murray, right? Jonathan Gannon didn't pick Kyler Murray, has no problem with it. And we've seen the Cardinals cut bait on the guy that they thought was going to be their franchise quarterback at one time to get Kyler Murray, right? Josh Rosen was the guy there until he wasn't. So I don't think it's entirely crazy what you're saying.
If you ever traveled you traveled to Tahoe by car from the Bay Area before, Rob?
No.
No? Never?
4-hour drive, give or take. How many stops?
Do I have kids with me?
No kids.
We're just asking how many stops because that's up to you. That's what this is. What is the average amount of stops?
No kids. You're with the boys.
0 stops. Are you serious? What am I stopping for? It's only 4 hours.
In and out. Maybe smoke break. Buy a bottle. Food.
Smoke break. No. 0 stops. So you get in. It's 4 hours. Just, prepare yourself ahead of time. Plan ahead, and then you get in the car and you go, and then you get on with your real life.
See, I'm 6'4". I need 2 stops, man, unless we're rolling into big old Suburban or something like that. Come on, man. I need 2 stops. I need to
stuff
eat
today, Rob.
I need to, you know what I'm saying? It's a melon Friday. It's a morning melon on a Friday morning. No doubt about it.
High maintenance. You're high maintenance.
They call me Bougie Bonte now. I've gotten high maintenance. But not like being bougie, Rob. Come on, it's a good lifestyle. Come on over.
Okay, if you say so. I guess if you drive with me, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, probably.
You're the only weed smoker in America that has to stop the car and get out.
I'm not a weed smoker. I'm just saying some people need smoke breaks. Not me.
It's legal.
Other people. I don't smoke. Rob,
thank you, Rob.
Get out of here. Thank you as always.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Rob Stats on fire, man. He's funny. I like pulling his chain, man.